All right, so the meeting has started. Let's wait for some few minutes and proceed. All right, so um, good evening, Nana Kwame, and I'll be the moderator or the tutor for this particular session. So, in this session, we'll be talking about the efficient CNG report formatting in Microsoft Word, how to format your reports and align everything to suit the standard format style. Okay, so I'll first take you through a series of tutorials. Then I'll get one report. Then we use that sample. Okay, so we'll be going through how to format it as usual. When you open the Microsoft Word, how do you start everything? And they also talk about page numbering, um, how to do a page setup, how to insert pictures and format them, and also caption pictures. Okay, and how to generate table of contents and also table of figures. All right, so we'll be doing all this in just a few couple of minutes. So I believe we can start now. Okay, so pardon me, let me quickly correct this thing. Okay, we can roll. So when you open your Microsoft Word like this, most of the times when we open it like this, we just go straight to fonts. You change the font, you change the font size and all. But then I would advise that the moment you open your Microsoft Word like this, you just put it at normal spacing. Sorry, no spacing, okay? So when you look at the styles over here, the heading styles, so there are several types of heading styles. You take them one after the other. But then first start with no spacing. If you don't first start with no spacing, and then you just proceed with whatever you are presented with, and you try to space out, you try to do the double spacing thing, you realize that your spacing will be way wider than it's supposed to be. And if you try to correct it at that time, your whole format will get spoiled. Okay, so let me give an example. So for example, let me say I have this over here. Let me change this font size to say Times New Roman. All right. So you can see that right now my font style is Times New Roman. Okay. So if I now want to do the no spacing thing, if I highlight everything, I put it on no spacing, you realize that the font style will change, every format that I've done will change, the report will become some way. Okay, so the first thing you do when you open your Microsoft is to change this style to no spacing. All right, then after that you're going to do the page setup. Now the page setup is where you do your margins. Yeah, you know, in CNG or in reports writing, you're supposed to use 4 on the left, 2 up, 2 down, and then 2 on the right. Okay, so you come to page setup. Sorry, come to layout. Then under layout, you see this small arrow here where the paragraph is. This small arrow at where the paragraph is. When you click on it, then you have the page setup. This one, sorry. Great. So you have the page setup. So over here you have the margins and everything. Already this one is automatically set to 2, bottom 2, left 2, and then the right is also supposed to be 2. All right. So the left is supposed to be 4. It's only the left that's supposed to be 4. Now the reason why we do the left margin 4 is because we will be doing binding, okay? And then you do the binding from the left side. And if it is 2, you realize that you bind into your weddings. So you realize that your text will be covered by the binding. So you have to do it 4 so that there will be enough space for the binding. And even after the binding, reading through your report will be easy. All right. So we are going to set it to 4 for 4222. All right. Then we are going to use portraits. Then you're going to apply this to whole documents. You can apply to this point for it. I'm going to show you when we'd have to apply some formats to this point for it and when you do the whole document. But for this particular one, you apply to the whole document. It's going to be the entire thing. All right. So now I've done that already. So I've done that. So this is all about the page setup. Okay. This is all about the page setup. How to do your margins. Remember, left 4, bottom 2, down 2, and then right also 2. Okay. So then the next will be about the formatting. The formatting, which font size are you supposed to use? Which when do you have to bolden it? When do you have to italize it? And then when you have to increase the font size? Okay, so generally you are supposed to use 12. The font size is supposed to be 12, and then the font is supposed to be Times New Roman. Okay, so yesterday somebody was asking a question that is the headings like the chapters, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4 in that order, as the font size not supposed to be 14? Well, that's what I did when I was down there. I guess that's why I didn't get an A at this particular course. But then that's not just it. There's more to it than just the font size. But I grew up to realize that in reports writing, and I realized it in the department or in the college, not anywhere else. So in reports writing, I'm supposed to use a standard font size throughout. Okay, so the chapter numbers can be 12. In fact, it has to be 12, and then any other thing should be 12. All right. Okay. Then over here too, we don't do a lot of changing font colors. It's not done that way over here. All right. So now let's see. So when you come to home, this basic stuff is something that you guys know already. So already remember that we set this one to no spacing, and then we are going to change our font style to Times New Roman. I said it earlier that we are supposed to use Times New Roman. Okay, then we are going to use our font size to be 12. Now once you are done, then the format of the report, you know that I'm supposed to do abstracts, acknowledgements, all these come. And mind you, your abstract is supposed to be written at the end of the project. I don't know how you people write abstract before you even start the report. It doesn't work that way. Your abstract gives a summary, a brief summary of the whole thing that you have done. It's not the whole thing that you are about to do. You get me? So now let me take you into this. Then we look at how we are supposed to arrange our reports. Okay. All right. So all right. So I have this right here. So now let's see. Uh, so the typing, we've done this already. Please make sure you read this particular thing George shared to know what exactly you have to do. So that's we've read this already. I mean we've done this already. Times New Roman, the font size is supposed to be 12. Then you're supposed to justify your margins. So we come to that. All right. So then all right. So this is supposed to be the order of your reports. Okay. This is supposed to be the order. So you're supposed to have your cover page. You're supposed to have your title page, and yeah, so in this case the cover page is going to be the combined then. Okay, so you don't worry about the cover page, but then at the title page, that is where you're going to have your name, the title, presented to College of Engineering, the date, everything that you're going to have it on the title page. Okay, but then the cover page, you don't worry about it. It's the work of the printers like myself. We are going to handle that. So you are supposed to have the title page. You're supposed to have the abstract, then also acknowledgements. And we see the acknowledgement is optional, but then I mean I'm yet to see anybody who has successfully gone through a project without needing somebody's help. Okay, so acknowledgement, although it's optional, but then I mean any report that you find out there will be some acknowledgement somewhere. Then table of contents and list of tables, if any, list of figures, if any. Then the body of text and then the references. So the body of text, you go into it where you talk about the introduction, the literature review, the methodology, all those things. I believe there are some arrangements made for you. So now um all these things are actually going to take chapters. So the body of text, that's where you're going to have the various chapters. Now abstract, you don't label abstract as chapter one. Abstract is not chapter one. Acknowledgement is not a chapter. The chapter starts from, I think, introduction, and then under the introduction I'm going to have literature review and all of those things. Oh no, I believe no, the literature review is a different thing. So introduction is chapter one, literature review will be chapter two. Then after the literature review, I think your methodology, that's going to be chapter three. Then your results and discussion is going to be chapter four. Then conclusion, and then the references is going to be chapter five. Then appendices. Appendices is not a chapter, so you don't label it as chapter anything. Okay. All right. So now all these chapters, and then things like abstract, acknowledgement, all these are kind of like main points of attractions. So let me go to my Microsoft Word and let me show you something over here. So let me just copy this list over here. All right, so when I come to my Microsoft Word, I'm going to start with if you look at this list, it starts with the cover page. Now the cover page is the last thing I'm going to treat. I'm sorry, I mean the title page, that's the last thing I'm going to treat. So let me just take it out. So we are going to start with the abstract. Okay, so I'm going to have abstract. All right, now remember that we are supposed to use Times New Roman, and then font size is supposed to be 12. Okay, all right. All right, so now this abstract, then I'm also going to have acknowledgement. Now remember that abstract, acknowledgement, then the body itself. Now the body itself will have different chapters. Each of the chapters are supposed to start on the first page, including abstract on the first page, introduction on the first page. Everything should be on the first page. Okay, so now let me have my abstract here. I'm not going to write anything yet because I've not started the report yet. So I can just write it and then leave it. I'll take you through the page numbers, so don't worry for now. So we're going to have acknowledgement somewhere here. Acknowledgements. All right. Then it goes on and on and on. So from acknowledgement, we're going to have our table of contents. All right. Then it goes on and on and on. Now the reason why I'm picking the main ones is because you have to follow a particular format so that it will help you to generate the table of contents. All right, you have to follow a particular style of heading for these main ones and then the subsequent ones. So I have table of contents. Let me just type all of them out so that it will make sense to you. All right, so the next thing is going to be list of tables. I'm going to have a list of figures. All right, yeah, I believe it's working. Then I'm going to have, so over here I'm going to have introduction. All right, then in the introduction there are several parts of the introduction. I'm going to take you through a couple of them as an example. Then we're also going to have so after the introduction we're going to have literature review here. Then after literature review we're going to have our methodology. All right, methodology. All right, then after that we're going to have results and discussion. Then we are going to have our conclusion, and then our, how do you call it, the references. All right, great. So now all these ones I'm going to follow a particular style of heading for them. So now let me show you something. When I come here now, if you look at the top here, you can see NK style. Ignore that. Now we have heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, heading 4. I believe most of the times when we see these things, we think that they are there for fun. They actually help us to generate the table of contents. Mind you, you're not supposed to type table of contents. You don't type table of contents. All right, it's only the people that are ignorant about this strategy and I'm gonna type a table of contents. You get me? So let's see. So the table of contents, you're not going to type it, you're going to generate it. So nothing is supposed to be typed there. Then the list of tables too, we are going to generate it. Then the list of figures to generate it. Then the introduction. So now in this introduction, most of the times you want to start, I believe George is going to take you through all these things one after the other, but then you would want to start with, say, just introduction. You just introduce the project you are doing by just typing some things. Say, let's assume that you are producing say activated carbon from waste rubber ties. So in the introduction you want to type a couple of things like the population of Ghana and the number of cars increase at a certain rate, something because of that, ties, and all those can come in the introduction. All right, but then in the literature review, that is when you're going to give scientific definitions. You're going to give examples of the ties that are out there, per articles or per report, not from your head. So from what you've read. The introduction, can type something. It shouldn't necessarily be facts. It can be something that you think that's all right, but then you should also support some of them with, if it's anytime you state a fact, you should support it with a reference. Okay, so you come to that one. So now introduction, I'm going to start with, say, the nature of I don't know, but let me just type something. The nature of, say, rubber ties, something like this. All right, so that's going to be something under the introduction, and then I'm going to type on and on and on and on, trying to describe whatever I'm typing under this nature of rubber ties. Okay, so now let me do some spacing over here so that this one makes sense, right? All right, so something like this. Let me just copy this one, paste. So I'm going to write all these things under the nature of rubber ties. Then after that I'm going to go to another thing, say the nature of roads. Okay, it's also under the introduction, but then it's a different thing, it's a different heading altogether. Nature of roads. All right, that one. So I'm going to type and type and type and type. Okay, so let me just type some gibberish so that I'll just use it to make my point. Right, so peace. All right, so all these have come under nature of fruits. So say that, let's say that's all I have for the introduction. Okay, then under literature review too, definitely I'm going to talk about, say, rubber ties. All right, I'm going to get something to write under rubber ties because I've read something on it. All right, so all the things I've read, I'm going to type it down that way. Let me just copy and paste. All right, so I've written something under rubber ties. Then also under the same literature review, say I've read about the types of rubber ties in Ghana, or types of rubber ties, just that. All right, so I'm going to start type 1, this type. Okay, type 2, that type 3, that type. All right, now let's even make it more interesting by having something to write under each of the types. So under the type 1, I have something to write. So it is this type, that's something. Okay, so don't just pay attention to what I'm typing. I'm just trying to demonstrate something to you. Okay, so I have all these things to say about the type 1. Okay, great. Then I have all these things to say about the type 2, and then all these things to say about the type 3. Now let's assume that this is all I have to write about literature review. So I just leave it and I'll come to methodology. Then I'll come and start. I did some things. I mean, now my point is that, you see, anytime you have a main topic, under the main topic, there could be another subtopic and then another subtopic. So now if you look at this, if you look at the literature review, so the literature review is kind of like a main topic. Okay, so that's going to be chapter 2, literature review. That's kind of like a main topic or a main heading. Then we are going to have rubber ties also as a second, a subheading under the literature review. Then types of rubber ties is going to be a subheading under the rubber ties. I don't know if it makes sense to you. I mean, at the literature review, we have rubber ties. Then types of rubber ties is going to be under the rubber ties. Okay. Then the various types. So type 1 is going to be under the type. So this one is also going to be a subheading. Okay, under the types of rubber ties. This one is also, the type 2 is also going to be a subheading in that order. Okay. So now let me say, after talking about rubber ties, remember that we are converting the rubber ties to activated carbon or activated charcoal. So you will want to also talk about activated charcoal. People will have to, the reader will have to know what activated charcoal is before you even start converting something into it. So that's also going to be another subtopic under the literature review. Okay, so let's say I have all these things to write under activated charcoal. Okay, I have all these things to write. Now, if you pay attention, I'm not focusing so much on the formatting yet. I only started, I put that normal, I did my page setup, and then I changed my font size and font style, and then yeah, I'm just flowing. So after all these things, then I'll now come to the editing. I'll come and edit it and properly align them in the way and manner they should be. So then that's activated carbon or activated charcoal. Okay, so I have all these things to say about it, and then maybe I'm going to use pyrolysis. Okay, the techniques or the process I'm going to use to do this conversion is pyrolysis. Okay, so then I should have something to say about pyrolysis, what it is, and the various types of pyrolyzers and all of those things. So that one crap may be a subtopic on its own, the various forms of pyrolyzers. Okay, so this is it. Under this, probably we are going to talk about temperature, how temperature affects pyrolysis, how pressure affects pyrolysis, all these things under literature review. Don't be scared, because these things are things that you read on the internet. Okay, yeah. So it's like we are trying to give a context about the work before you start doing it. You get me? All right. So now let's see how you're going to format this in such a way that you'll be able to generate a table of contents out of it without typing out the table of contents. So remember that I said that abstract, acknowledgements, table of contents, list of tables, chapter 1, chapter 2. Now let me even add the chapter numbers. So our introduction is, say, going to be our chapter 1. Okay. All right. Or let me use this thing. All right. Then our literature review is going to be our chapter 2. All right. Great. Then we are going to have our methodology to be our chapter 3. We've not talked about the methodology yet, but so it will make sense with what I've just typed. You'll be able to understand what I'm trying to mean. All right. Then the results and discussion is going to be our chapter 4. Okay. All right. So chapter 4. All right. Then we're going to have conclusion to be chapter 5. All right. So now if you pay attention, I've not done it. I've not focused on centering anything. I've not focused on justifying anything. Now remember that the whole work is supposed to be justified. Okay, so I can select the entire thing by using Control plus A. Control plus A, select everything. Then I'll just justify the work. So this is justify. You can use either Control plus J. It's a shortcut you can use. Now let me show you what happens if you justify your work. These are techniques that you people know already, so I wouldn't stress much on it. Now if you look at this particular page, you realize that the left side is perfectly aligned, but then the right side is somehow gibberish, some things. So if you justify it, you're going to have both the right side and the left side straightened, and this is how the report should look like. It makes it easy to read, okay, and it makes it presentable. So you have to justify the entire work, and once you select everything and justify it, it's justified through, it justifies throughout. Then I guess I have not changed the spacing. So because I've not changed the space, if you look at this, I mean, if assuming that you have a work that looks like this and somebody is trying to read it, the lines are so close that from one line moving to the next line, you may even end up reading the same line that you just read. Okay, so you would want to use the double spacing. That's what you're supposed to use. That's the standard. If you're going to use anything other than the double spacing, you are going to lose marks. Okay, so double spacing means the spacing is 2. So that one, so I can just do Control plus A. I've selected everything. Then over here in the paragraph where you have your center, your left align and right align and everything. Now the spacing is this one, the line spacing. I'll have to use 2.0. 2.0 is the double spacing. Now if I use 2.0 and I scroll through it, you realize that I now have, let me see where I typed my stuff. Okay, so I now have my weddings